Autumn is always an exciting time for landscape photographers. Dramatic light, changeable weather, and amazing colours on the landscape. There's very little not to like. Right now, I'm head down in a busy workshop period, although I have managed to get out and shoot a couple of times myself, this being one such occasion at the place where my landscape photography started, the rugged and dramatic Wastwater. It's a great place to shoot at this time of the year, with the often dramatic weather rolling in off the sea and with the sun ideally placed behind you to light the dramatic scene in front of you. And you do occasionally see the odd plane flying over. Hello folks, welcome back. Sorry for the slight pause in videos over this period. This is always a really busy period for me for workshops this time of year. I'm on to my third and final week of autumn workshops coming up in a couple of days. A couple of cracking groups so far. If you're watching this and you've been on one of those groups, really enjoyed myself, and I'm sure you had a good time too. What I'm trying to do tonight is grab a little bit of personal shooting in between the next workshop. Before the best of autumn goes, basically. But I also have another reason to be out tonight. I'll just show you. I've invested in a set of these. These are muck boots, Arctic Sport they are. And I've bought these in mind for when I go to Lofoten, because my previous wellies, while functional, weren't the warmest. So hopefully tonight when I'm down at Wastwater here, I can get into the water and give them a good test. So let's get cracking. So one thing that's a feature of shooting at Wastwater is this particular shoreline around the main car parking area. Now, I was here only a few days ago, and the water level has significantly risen, even though I didn't think there'd been all that much rain. Okay, so I've just come away from the shoreline there because while I was shooting there was a lovely moment with the family taking in the view and doing some sketching about 5-10 yards away from me, and they probably didn't need me yabbering away to a camera making a video and spoiling the atmosphere. So I've just moved away from what they were doing there just to talk you through what I'm shooting. Now, as I was saying about the shoreline, 2-3 days ago, the shoreline was much higher. It doesn't feel like there's been an awful lot of rain, but the water level's risen considerably. It must have rained through the night or something. But anyway, yeah, this time of year, these rocks along the shoreline here make for great foreground interest, and depending on the water level, they can become either increasingly easy or difficult to shoot. Now, when I was shooting there the other day, I had much calmer weather and some really nice reflections. Now, I'm not a photographer who really, particularly chases reflections and that sort of thing. My only stipulation is the water's doing something interesting. But I had nice calm reflections, and I had about a 3-stop filter on just to take the edge off the water, and we got a nice shot. Now, this shot tonight, before I get into that, I'll just put the shot on the screen here that I took from 2-3 days ago. Let me know what you think. I thought it was a pretty good one, to be honest. I kind of wish I'd done a video around it, but I got that engrossed in doing the photography that, to be honest, it's nice to just turn the brain off and just do the photography for once. But tonight, the water levels are much higher, which is presenting quite a few more challenges with the composition. What I'm going for is a vertical frame, and it's a bit tricky to compose the left-hand side of the frame. If I shot it in landscape, you would have got a lot of greenery in the shoreline in the shot. So what I'm trying to do, I'm not a fan of doing this, to be honest, but I've got 2 rocks on the left and right-hand sides of the frame edge, and they're intentionally touching the frame edge. As I say, not my first choice of composition, but sometimes you've got to make a bit of a compromise. So hopefully these are making a nice little ring around the main rock in the centre. Now, the obvious challenge here, with the sun behind me, is shadow. We've got the tripod shadow in the shot, and it's a little bit of a job in Photoshop to try and get rid of that. So I'm going to have a bit of a challenge there, I think. But what I've been doing with the polarizer is just playing around with it a little bit. I've got some where it's cranked all the way around and you've almost got like jet black water. And then I've got a couple of others where it's not quite as strong. But overall, I think the shot works pretty well. I mean, it's one of those where you stand in front of it and the light is so strong and contrasty that you think, oh God, there must be a shot here. But it's almost a little bit off-putting, to be honest. I think what I'll probably do here is hang around and wait for the kind of softer light on the rocks and get one of those as well to compare. But anyway, let's see how these turn out. Here they are on the screen. Let me know what you think. Okay, so this last shot here, I'm just keeping it nice and simple because it really doesn't need to be any more complex than that. The shot that I was shooting down at the shoreline, to be honest, was a bit of a challenge there, and I'm not entirely sure I'm that happy with it. I don't think it's as good as the one I shot a few days earlier anyway. The light was a little bit more challenging there, whereas this shot, I've come back up the hill a bit and I'm going much tighter in on a section of the landscape in the distance there. That's looking towards Barrow, which is the sort of triangular peak on the left-hand side of the three main ones in this scene. At this time of year, late in the evening, as the sun's kind of setting off your left shoulder as you're looking down the lake, you get lovely raking light hitting the left-hand side of the scene here. So this shot that I'm going for, well, I'll show you in the camera here. Okay, so as you can see in front of me here, just this slightly more elevated viewpoint gives me a kind of good bit of separation looking towards these little bits of the shore that stick out. And with the sun setting off my left-hand shoulder, as the light gets lower, you get much stronger contrast on that left-hand side of the scene. So the shot itself, I'm going quite tight in on Barrow, which is the kind of triangular peak in the distance there. I'll just show you in the camera. You can see that lovely light striking the side and the top of it. About 105 millimeters, something like that. Can I get in on that? Don't know. I'm no videographer. It's about 105 millimeter anyway, and we're just going for a nice simple shot of the light and the layers on the landscape in the distance there. If I've got time for one more shot, I might cram one in, but if this is the last shot in the day, it's a pretty good one to finish on. Right, I've just sat down out the wind there. Let me just get this camera a bit straighter. There we go. Yeah, not a bad little shoot that. I mean, I've been coming here for donkey's years. So I know it really well, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to just kind of go straight to a spot and, you know, straight away what I'm going to shoot. The conditions I've got here, you can see that the light this evening's been really good. This is pretty typical of what you get at Wastwater at this time of the year, to be honest. You've got these lovely sort of strong stormy clouds passing over, and then you've got really strong backlighting behind you. So I always say to people when they come into the Lake District, you know, do give Wastwater a chance. I mean, I'm probably a bit biased because I come here a lot and I live close to it, but as far as views go, I mean, it really takes some beating. But more than that, I would say it's pretty predictable in what you're going to get in terms of the light. A lot of the lakes further to the east of here and in the central lakes, they kind of run opposite to where you want the light to fall, so you often lose the light early in the shoot behind the mountains, where, as I said earlier, this is one of the places in the Lake District where you get really strong light right until the death before sunset. So, it's a really good sunset location in the winter months. I think your peak period is between sort of now to kind of early February, I would say, when the sun's in a really good position. If you really want to time it, you know, for the peak light, I'd say it's probably around the sort of winter solstice to around December. That's as far around as the sun is obviously going to get, where it's basically right behind your head. So yeah, it's been a nice little shoot. It's always good to come down here and get a shoot in. I sometimes think I film here a lot because I live close to here, but in reality, I actually haven't got that many videos from Wastwater. So yeah, anyway, just a quick plug for my autumn workshops next year. They're nearly sold out. I've got one space on each of them. And if you're interested in those, go and have a look at the website. I'll put a link in the description of those. And I've also got a couple of spaces on an upcoming workshop I'm running with Mark Littlejohn in the Isle of Harris in the middle of January. That'll be a really good trip, that. Mark, hopefully I'll get him on the channel one of these days when we can organise it. He's an absolute star. I think he'd absolutely kill YouTube if he wanted to do it, to be honest. But anyway, great workshop, that. Again, I'll put a link in the description for that as well. Right, that's enough from me. I'm going to go home, get warm, and yeah, get this video edited. So take care, and I'll see you on the next one.